But the issue that we had was before she was adopted, she had already been through the front door, which is a ridiculously long process to get your family member into OPWDD services. She was already approved, but they had to wait to approve any services that she could try until she was adopted. And since she's been adopted, we have been fighting to get, number one, she wants to move out on her own, so we want to put her in a safe residential facility where she has oversight and we can still have regular contact with her because she's part of our family. We love her. She's like everyone. She's hit a crossroad where she wants to be on her more
She's 21. She wants to be more independent and move out of the house. So we want to make that happen for her. And had she been allowed to go on a waiting list 3 years ago when she was 18, there might be something for her to do now. But now she's 21 and we're just getting her on these waiting lists.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Finding Common Ground with Heather and Steve. Today we have Craig and Sally Benoit. They are from Central New York in Steve's neck of the woods, and they're here to tell a special story to begin with about how they met Steve. And I think I'll let you guys kind of take the show.
Go ahead. Okay. We were doing foster care for a few years, and we were kind of disillusioned with the foster care system as far as getting kids from the foster care. At the time, was it Herkimer County?
Yes.
We were doing foster care through a county, through like social services. And so my wife went on
No, we switched to the therapeutic agency.
That's right. We had switched to a therapeutic agency, but Sally had gone on what website was it? Was it OCFS?
The OCFS
website and saw the picture of this little boy, and he was in the Utica area, which isn't far from where we live. And she just kept sending me pictures. And I was like, well, I don't really need another kid right now. And most of the stories begin. And then she kept sending me the picture, and I'm like, all right, let's meet him. So we traveled to Utica, and we met him at the House of the Good Shepherd. And we were just like instantly like, this kid is great. We love him. He's hilarious. So then I went to, I believe, a permanency hearing with Steve, correct? I met you for the first time it was a permanency hearing. And that's how we got to know Steve. Him and his wife had been doing foster care for quite a while. And we just kind of fed off of each other. We ended up having a relationship with him and Jen, and then we adopted Omarion, and it was just, it's been great. How many years now? He's going to be 16.
I know. In a couple of weeks.
Aww.
And I don't even know how many years we've had him anymore. I'm bad with that. I've lost track. We have a lot of kids. We've adopted a lot of children.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that piece. I love that that's how you got connected with Steve. A lot of people meet him in different ways, but families in the foster care system can feel really segregated, kind of like and separate from each other in little silos, and they don't always get to interact. So I think, having some role models and people to like partner up with and, get insights from is important. But you guys have really taken this seriously, kind of like Steve. Steve has had a lot of children in and out of his home, and he's adopted some, and it sounds like you are very similar. So how many children? I mean, I know for Steve at the ballpark is just under 200 have been in his home. And I don't know, Steve, is it three children that you've adopted into your family, or in the process of? Oh, he does look frozen. He looked really, really happy and intent. Shoot. Okay. So do I keep going, Scott?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
I was like,
sorry, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So I know for Steve, you've had about 200 children or, give or take, that have been in your home as foster children. What about how many you've adopted or are in the process of, Steve?
We adopted Andrell. Actually, Craig and Sally know him well too. We're in the process of adopting another child, similar age as Andrell, and that should be hopefully this next month. And we are putting in papers for the final kid that's in our house, who's been with us on and off for 9 years. We can't let him go.
I know. How could you, right? Oh,
we didn't plan on it, but we're going to wind up with 3 adopted, and the total sounds a lot, but that's counting respite kids. That come in, kids that come in from other counties, kids that come in from the state, sometimes, and even some from juvenile system that we've had. So I want to tell a quick story with
number.
Craig.
I know, but you're so humble. 200 lives you guys have touched. I mean, that's a big deal. That's impressive.
Well, wait to hear these guys' story. Craig, do you remember when we had
We're building up, guys. No, it gets better.
Right. When we had that full disclosure meeting that we went to, do you remember when I threw that bag on the table of the shirt?
Yeah.
I took heat for that. They thought I ruined the whole. They thought I ruined the whole thing by throwing that on there. But I wanted you to know that was
I told you about that, right?
real, and that was honest, and I wanted you to trust me that we were telling you everything. So.
Yeah. So tell the audience, what was that about? Can you expand? Because I feel like I want to know. Well, what was in the bag? No.
Omarion chews on his shirt, his coat. He ingests it. He will chew up a shirt, and he's sneaky about it, and he knows it's wrong. And you'll tell him, "You get that shirt out of your mouth," and you turn your back, and he will go,
"Whoop!" Yep.
And he will eat it. He will consume it. We've tried so many different things to keep him from doing it. This is our best time of year because when he is home, he is shirtless.
That is so funny. But I'm sure that sometimes they withhold that kind of information from people, right? They think that that's going to turn them off. They're not going to want the kid. Yeah.
I do remember. It's funny, Steve, because I haven't thought about that in years. But you did. You threw that up like, hey, man, this is the way this kid is.
You got to know this up front.
There's also a banana story from Steve's house.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. And Omarion is you have to watch Omarion all the time because he steals drinks. Mm-hmm. He'll try to steal adult drinks.
Uh-oh.
He's one of a kind, man. But yeah, to be honest, in retrospect, it was refreshing that he did that he put that out there because we were inquiring about this kid who everyone said was not adoptable.
Oh,
and when they threw that out there, I remember thinking, so he eats his shirt.
That's it?
That's it?
I know, right? Out of all the things in the world, that doesn't seem so bad.
Not that bad.
It's no big deal. And it still isn't. We just go through a lot of T-shirts. And he's been going to the same school for so long that they know it. So, I usually get the kids ready for school, and Sally will come out and be like, "You're going to send him in that?" I'm like, they know. They know he's going to destroy it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aw. So when you think about how many children's lives you've touched, do you have an estimate?
I'd say we probably had
50.
About 50 kids have come through our door.
Mm-hmm.
But we've adopted 13 of them.
Yeah, we've adopted 13.
That's very impressive.
Just kids that were never going to be able to go home, and it just didn't seem like they needed to go anywhere else after they came to our house. So
yeah,
I can totally appreciate that because you bring somebody in during a crisis usually, right? I mean, it's a traumatic situation. They have no grounding, no stable place to be, and then they find their place with you, and it would be really hard to say goodbye, because they are part of your life just as much as you're a part of theirs. I know Steve keeps track of everybody. I mean, he has an idea of where people ended up and where they landed and what jobs they're doing as adults. And I just think that that's a special kind of person. For the audience who, might in their mind think, it sounds like something I might want to do, or maybe they're scared of doing it. What would you say to the families like that just are kind of teetering on the edge maybe?
Just do it. There's so many ways that you can start. You could do respite and just take kids for the weekend and help out other foster families that need a break. You could take kids for holidays so they're not sitting in group homes with no family or anybody to celebrate with. You don't have to jump in and make the full commitment right away.
That's such an important part that I actually hadn't thought of, because I think that is a big deal. People think, wow, I'm really, I don't know if I would adopt a child. And I know when I looked at some of the paperwork with a family I was working with, when they were going to foster, that they basically had assigned something that said, if I'm willing to take this child in and they're with me for a certain length of time, I have to be open to adoption. And I don't know if that's still in practice or if it was just in this situation that I was in. But the family I was working with was very guarded, or like made them hesitant. Like, I don't know if I can do that. It seemed like a really big commitment. But once, in all honesty, once a child was there and a few months had passed, they did not want anybody, they didn't want him to leave. So I guess that part makes sense too.
And they can't force your hand. And it does definitely feel, we've worked with different agencies. We absolutely love the one we're with now. But it does feel in situations like they're trying to force your hand. And in reality, they cannot.
Right.
So you don't need to be afraid of trying things, even if it's worded a certain way, or you don't have to panic. There's always other clauses that say if you give a 30-day notice because something isn't working out, or an emergency 10-day notice. But you have to go by that too, because you have to understand they don't have a lot of homes to just be able to move these kids to.
Right.
There's such a shortage of foster homes right now because people only want kids that don't get upset and don't fight and don't cry. And kids have been through a lot. They're gonna need some time to get that out of their system, and you need to be there for them.
Right. I mean, I just think of when I pack up and I go on vacation. This is a silly example, but I'm so stressed out in a new environment. I can't sleep. I'm worried about other things. Now, that's a vacation. I mean, for these kids, sometimes all they have is a garbage bag with anything they belong is in that bag, or sometimes they come with nothing, and it just has to be really dysregulating. Both, I'm going to ask all of you, this is just very interesting to me. What's the best way to help them adjust? I mean, do you let them just go into the room and close the door and be by themselves? Do you have like a strategy or a plan, or does it really kind of change depending on each kid?
I think that we've just been doing this for so long now that we've developed this. You just got to kind of feel them out for the first day or two. We're not going to get after a kid about what the rules are, but there are some hard and fast rules at our house, which are
no girls in the boys' rooms, no boys in the girls' rooms.
No cell phones right away, unless that one doesn't really come up very often. But like kids will come in with cell phones, and the first thing that we say is the phone is there to if they have to contact their family or something, but no internet access where you don't just get to, because we have to protect them and we have to protect our other children. And there's just so much garbage out there, Mm-hmm. But yeah, the no boys in the girls' room, no girls in the boys' room.
That's the biggest
thing. We just kind of let them. They got to be scared out of their minds when they get to a new house. Our house, I'm sure, can be intimidating when you come in and there are
a dozen kids,
giant dogs, father with a huge beard. It's loud here. But it's fun here too. And we just had a boy stay for respite. It's supposed to be here a day.
He was here for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And he didn't want to leave because I heard him tell his worker, it's so fun here. Well, because there's also kids here that really kind of regulate their behavior too. They want to fit in.
Yeah.
Most of them want to fit in when they get here. So they're not going to push boundaries too much. Got it? So they don't want to push boundaries too hard, but we just kind of feel it out. If it's a respite kid, our policy has always been, if they want to hang out in their room the entire weekend, they can do that. Here's where the food, we'll let you know when it's time to eat. But it's not super strict, but I say but Sally runs a pretty tight ship.
In a way,
as
you
far
have
as-
to, though, right? Like, you have to have expectations, or how would you get everybody's needs met? I mean, I can
Exactly.
appreciate that. Yeah.
And you can't have chaos. We've had some difficult cases, difficult kids that have come through, and right away they were running away and stuff. And then we've had other cases where they were here for months, and then something just snapped.
Right. Yeah. Something
because
can
there's a lot
trigger a
of-
memory, or, it's
so
time
much
of
trauma,
year.
so much mental illness, court dates,
Oh, yeah.
memories,
Visits, with family,
Visits.
maybe. Mm-hmm.
holidays.
Yeah, if a biological parent hasn't been around in a while and then they surface, that we've experienced that a couple of times, and that has never ended well for us or the kid. It's so difficult to reopen all of those wounds again, and the kids that want to go home and they
Right.
want dad to be there, and dad is saying that he's going to. But
Right.
dad
He's
hasn't
saying
been
all the
out.
things they wanted to hear him say, and he's saying it, and he showed up. But you guys have that, that frame of reference, and you've seen it play out so many times that I'm sure it's nerve wracking. You're like, the likelihood that he stays consistent is very small, and that is hard, because you don't want to discount the fact that he showed up. As a step parent, I can appreciate even that scenario. So that is tricky.
Yeah. It's difficult too, because that the best place for them at that point is in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're convinced a lot of the time that they just need to get home.
Right.
And like, we know because of what we do that the conditions had to be so bad because they don't just remove kids from a house. It's got to be pretty bad. And
Yeah,
when
I think that's a really good point. I'm really, really glad you brought that up. I was a school psychologist, and we were in and out of homes all the time. We would see horrifying situations, and the children remained. It takes a lot and especially with the lack of foster care. Steve, what would you say with this kind of line of, that we're going down right now, this path? You've never had kids that you thought, I should just send them back. They're ready. I don't know why they took them. Have you ever felt that way? Because I think that's a misconception sometimes. Because when you see the things on TV and that poor biological parent who didn't do anything wrong, or it was a misunderstanding, they kind of like go with that storyline. But I'm sure it's not usually that way.
Yeah, I look back over the years. I would bet there's not 6 or 7 kids that we've actually ever put out of all those kids. It has to be pretty dire. We usually get the kids that have been in 15 houses, have been kicked out of all the other foster homes.
Oh, wow.
And we get them. I wanted to mention something. You mentioned something at the very beginning about expectations of these kids coming in our home. What's going on? We took a kid out of Schenectady. He'd been kicked out of over 20 homes out there. I believe he was about 15 at the time. And they brought me down there because I don't say no. Sally knows. She's just like me. We hardly ever say no. And I went down there, and they had a stack that was probably 2 feet tall of all the things this kid had done wrong in the last 20 houses.
Oh,
All
my
the things he'd
goodness.
done wrong in school. I pushed every single bit of it away. I didn't read a single thing in it. This kid was in the room, and he saw that. And he saw that I pushed it away, because then I told him, I don't care what you have in here. When you get to my house, we're not doing that stuff. You got a fresh start in my house, period. You know, that kid was here. He wanted to be in a star halfback. I tell this story once in a while. Of our varsity football team, was a star. And he never gave us one problem at all. And the whole time he was Jen caught him smoking once, and he told us when he went in the military, he was more afraid of his people in the military than he was of my wife. Other than that, he had never done anything wrong in our house because, and he told us, we gave him a shot. We gave him a chance and we didn't judge him. And so many of these kids, especially the teens, they come in, they're judged and people don't want to take them and other foster homes don't want to take them. And, you know, these great foster parents in front of me right now are very similar to Jen and I. We try to do everything we can to undo all that stuff and try and make it better for him. I did want to mention one other thing about the kids coming in, about rules. Jen's probably more strict than I am with hardened rules of certain things that she wants, expectations. She's also at work all day, so I'm stuck in being the enforcer.
She sets the rules and you must enforce. Yeah.
Right. But you know what? When the kids come in addicted to Xbox and phones at age 5, I'm from the dinosaur age. I didn't have a phone when I was 5 years old. These kids can't come off of it. We have to take it. We usually do. We usually limit the Xbox. And you know what we find? We have these massive Xboxes in our barn. The kids don't even play with it. They play with all the other stuff, or they go outside and play, which is what I'd rather them be doing. They wind up being having a childhood that I think is more rounded than staying on a phone or Xbox all day long. I'm going to make sure I got that in there because it's so many of these kids everywhere else, bio homes, even other foster homes, are allowed to have that. It's because it's a babysitting tool, and I don't think it's effective, and it hurts us because we have to kind of undo that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And like you were saying, Craig, like you don't know what they're going to have access to on that phone. You know, you don't know what they're going to come across or who's going to reach out to them through that phone. And when you're in charge of protecting someone who's in a vulnerable state, that's a big deal. That really is. I mean, I think all parents struggle with that piece. But when you have a child that's already been, programmed, for lack of a better word, by other people, and maybe people with some dysfunctional traits, right? So they're going to come in, and if they're used to, when people are mad, they throw things, or when people are mad, they swear or they hit, that's what they know. And that has to be hard, especially if they have a disability or any other challenges, because like you said, you have to undo that. You have to take a step back. But they appreciate it, I'm sure. When it's all said and done and they're back in a better place, they have to feel some level of gratitude. They were using it to escape too. They didn't. It's not that was what they really wanted to do all day. It's the only thing they knew how to do.
With the boy that we just spoke about, that was supposed to be here for a couple of days and ended up staying 2 weeks, within a day or two of him asking for the Wi-Fi password, he kept saying no. The only time I ever saw that kid on the phone was
It was raining and he had a video game on his phone.
not even that. It was when he was laying in bed at night, and I'm sure at that point he was just trying to process his entire life. So laying in bed and watching a video or playing a game, he still didn't have internet access, but he was able to sit and play a game or something that he had programmed on his phone. That's okay. But we've also had kids that, similar situation. We had a boy that came here for respite, and after a couple of weeks, the other boys that were living here at the time, including one that wasn't a foster kid or a biological kid, he was a friend of our son who had already moved out, but he needed a place to stay. And even he was like, you can't just sit all day and play video games. There's 20 acres out there. We got all kinds of great stuff to do. But you were right. Like, you hit the nail right on the head. They're programmed. That's their life. That's all that they knew, because maybe their parents were struggling too, and they didn't know how to handle their behaviors, or they were absent, or they almost always have mental health issues themselves. Limiting that's a huge step towards some sanity in your house, because our other kids don't have access to that stuff. So guess what they're doing when you're on your phone?
Right.
So they're up in your business, or they're having fun outside, and you're like, hey, maybe I should go out there.
Get dirty and get, because a lot of them have never had that opportunity, to just be a kid. Well, we adopted our daughter when she was 17. No, we got her when she was 17, Dakota. We adopted her when she was 26. And my wife, I remember this, that my wife said something that was so poignant that I hadn't considered was she was a senior in high school and she was all worried about all this stuff that she never got to do. And Sally said, let's just let her be a teenage kid. She's got 1 year of school left. Make a big deal about prom. Let's make a big deal about a boyfriend coming over to visit. Let's make a big deal about senior night. And, she didn't grow up in Dolgeville, but when she got to go to senior night and then have us make a big deal because we love her. And that made a difference because she was headed down a path that nobody wants to have to do.
And she spent her whole childhood taking care of her brothers.
Yeah, so she didn't get to be a kid. But she recognized that. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Because I'm a dad and I'm protective. And I'm like, she better stop the crap that she's doing, the boy on the phone. And she's like, let it happen. She's never had an opportunity to have a normal kid, a normal childhood. So
Right.
Yeah, teenagers don't make great decisions, whether they're biological children or foster children or your friend's children or teenagers are notoriously making bad decisions. That's just their thing.
And that's how you learn, right? If you never make a bad decision or if you never test the limits, I'm going to stay up all night and then, okay, well, you got to go to school in the morning. That's going to be a really long day. Sometimes the natural consequence is okay. But it's also, I'm sure you're modeling the right things. They're seeing what a functional, healthy family looks like. And the other thing that really struck me when you were saying the number of children living in your home, I had a friend in school and I never ever knew that they were in foster care for a large portion of our childhood. I didn't know because I wasn't going over to their house, right? And they had switched locations a few times. And I remember when we were in high school, I said, why didn't you ever tell us? Because eventually she did get adopted. And she said, it was like my dirty secret. I didn't want everybody to know my parents didn't want me or they couldn't take care of me. And I thought, I can't imagine carrying that around. It's like this thing that you don't want anyone to find out. But in your house, you have all these children who are going through it, who have lived it. So you have peers with you. You have people who truly understand how that feels, and you can just be yourself. It's like...
I've heard kids come in and talk to our older kids. Talk to Charles, talk to Bonesy, talk to Chloe, talk to the kids about...
It's okay. I was in foster care.
Yeah. Even like silly stuff, like when I went up, I found a marker board in the yard one time and it said adopted. And then on the other side, it said biological. And it had the names of the kids that were divided.
They were trying to figure it out.
My first thought was, oh my God, they're like bullying them. They're singling them out. It turns out, no, they were all playing a game together, and that's how they were choosing teams. But you gotta allow them the opportunity to discuss it. Here's a great story, and I'm running off at the mouth. But we watched, what was the movie with Mark Wahlberg where they were foster parents?
Oh, Instant Family.
Instant Family. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
Great movie.
No.
But there's a point where the foster parents are venting, and they're in their bedroom where they think they are, that no one can hear them, and they're just pissed, and they're like, let's just give them all back. And they weren't serious. They were just venting. And Sally and I were sitting right where we are now and started laughing, and this little boy who had been with us for about a year turned and said, is that true? Is that really what you do? And we had to explain to him that, listen, being a foster kid's hard, but so is being a foster parent. And sometimes you have to be able to say things you don't mean. It's very therapeutic to get it out.
You just got to get it out of your system. Yeah, you got to say it out loud.
He was appalled.
All the kids looked at us and like, you guys don't do that, do you? We're like,
hell yeah. We do all the things. You gotta. If you don't have each other and you can't do a sense of humor, I mean, plus, I think that they pick up on that too. That it's a loud house, but there's also a lot of joking around, very casual. So they see that and they pick up on that, and it definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things don't change here. We've had kids that leave and come back, or come back when they're older, or come back to visit. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that person's new and that person's new, but, we're still having dinner around the same time and we're still doing the same stuff that we always do. And I know for a lot of kids that are getting bounced around all the time, just that consistency is really comforting for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. So I've worked in education and healthcare, and when I was at a facility, a 500-bed facility, I was connected to this young man, and he had been injured and became a quadriplegic, and he was in a nursing home, and I thought, I got to get him in the community. I can't even imagine being a young person and living, with all these elderly people and in a hospital-like setting. And he said, I just will never forget, because he had been there for over 10 years when I was working with him. He said, this is the only place I've ever been for this long. And even though I hate it, I don't want to go because it's all I know. And then he told me his story of how he would have been in foster care, and then he had lived at Hillside, and he had never been anywhere for more than a year. His entire life, he had never been anywhere more than a year. I actually had a conversation with him this morning because sadly I got him out and we got him an apartment, but he didn't have the skills. And that's what I think. There's not this program or this thing that wraps around you at the end that shows you how to live on your own, who shows you, that guides you. And Steve has talked about this too. And he ended up back at a nursing home. I'm just heartbroken. He called me desperate today. He needs to get out. He needs to get out. And I thought, I could try again, but he still doesn't have the skills. He still doesn't have the coping skills, and all of those things that you need to make it in the world. And he just kind of resets to his baseline whenever he's stressed out, and that just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Steve's talked about somebody that, when they turn 21, it's like, boop, you're out, but there's not something lined up. Do you guys find that too?
So many of the kids that we have had here or that we've adopted aren't really their chronological age. They definitely need help well beyond that 18 or that 21. So we always try and make ourselves available for that. Whether it's filling out an application or applying for a loan, or it's they know that they can come back to us and we will be happy to help them. But as far as, like you said, the reset to the baseline, that is so hard, because so many of these kids, when they do get out on their own, don't understand that you can't say that, or you can't have that fit, or you can't, because that's not how things work outside of the home. That's not how things work out in the real world. Yeah. And it's really difficult to teach that to kids who just didn't have it from the beginning.
He didn't even know how to make food, right? So he just would use all his money on drive-thrus and things like that, or Uber Eats, and then he'd run out of his money the 7th day of the month. And, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But he didn't know. He just didn't have a reference point. He didn't have family dinners like you were talking about, and cooking together in those kind of situations.
Having to have a conversation with a teenage boy, I've had to do several times, where you have to tell them, you're not always going to be in foster care. And at some point, if you steal from somebody or you do something bad, you're going to have to, one, answer to the authorities, or two, you may get your butt handed to you. If you steal from me, I'm going to tell the foster care agency, we're going to deal with it in-house. You're going to be punished. But if you continue to live that kind of lifestyle when you get out of here,
we can't help.
I can't help you if you get beat up. I can't help you if you get arrested. Okay, you're on your own as far as we've tried our best. And I think that overall we've had pretty good results with curbing that behavior. But a lot of it, and I'm sure Steve knows too, it's so hard to rewrite that story. You can't, I tell all my clients that, because I work with a lot of kids, that you can't predict tomorrow any more than you can go back and rewrite what happened yesterday. So you have to learn to live in the now, but you have to learn from what you've done if it didn't work for you. So regardless of what trauma you've endured, what kind of anxiety that you have, stealing is going to lead you down a path that is just not good. And being able to understand that you can only control what you're doing right now and you can't control anybody else. That's really hard to get through to a kid who's never been taught anything. And the only thing they learned was, the majority of these homes that these kids have come out of, there's been substance abuse and violence and incarcerated parents and all of these adverse childhood experiences that they've gone through. The best thing that you can give them is stability. And that's what, especially Sally's very good at keeping it organized and keeping people, this is when we're doing this and this is when we're doing that. Because they've lived with impulsive people their entire lives.
Right.
Most of them, right?
And then they seek chaos or they make it when it's not there because that's actually what feels normal. And that's what I find.
Even bad at trying to instill attention.
Right, right. And if that's all you're used to, that's actually more comfortable. When you give somebody a compliment and you can tell they just don't know what to do with it. Like, that's not normal. Or you try to hug the kid who's never been hugged. Now, this is another nursing home story. I had done this workshop and they had taught me a hug or a handshake at the end of the day. Like, let them know you care about them no matter what happened, whatever went down. At the end of the day, you look them in the eye and you give them a hug or a handshake. They get to choose. Well, I decided I would do this in a 500-bed facility. Like, it was my brilliant idea that I would do a hug or a handshake, thinking that only a few people would actually want the hug or the handshake. It became such a fiasco. People lined up and down the hallways, all their wheelchairs, their walkers. I am hugging people for 2 hours before I can leave. The security guards are like, we're going to have to start hiding your car in that parking lot over there. And you're going to have to go use the tunnel. Like, you're never going to get out of here. And so I had to kind of like quietly retreat from that. But it left such an impression that I'll never forget. I'll never forget it. And there was this one young man, I ran into him at the grocery store, and he had always done the handshake. And he was out there working at the grocery store in the parking lot with the carts. And he said, I'm ready for my hug. Like, I'll just never forget. It was like he was fine. And I hadn't seen him for years. And I was like, Alex, I will give you your hug. Like, I was waited for the hug. So those little things can be so important because that was then a routine, right? That was something they could count on. And they knew I wasn't going to hold it against them, even if things had gone totally sideways that day. And I think everybody needs to know that. Whether you're in foster care, if you're in an institutionalized setting, like you mentioned, group homes, that can be so dysregulating for kids. Whether they have family or not family, it's a scenario where they feel like they've been kind of secluded and tossed away. And I love that you guys have embraced them and brought them into your homes and gave them those routines and that compassion. They feel it. It has to change them. What has it done to you guys? I mean, we have like 5-10 minutes left. Like, what's the impact for you when you think of the audience? What do you want them to walk away with?
Let me jump in quick, Heather. Foster parents are the backbone of foster care. They're the key to all of it. And unfortunately, a lot of times we haven't had a say in the foster care system. And there's a lot of things that are wrong with the foster care system. It's hard to go out there and say it when you work for agencies, when you're working with the counties, because there could be retaliation, might not be, but there's always that in your head. And I ask, new foster parents this, so I know what bothers them when they see a problem and they can't fix it, or the rules and regulations are so bad. And I don't know if I told you guys, Craig and Sally, I'm not going to say who it was. Somebody really big in one of the agencies told me that the night of kids in care, then the entire state.
Can you repeat that, Steve? Because you cut out for a second.
I'm sorry. The kids in foster care in Oneida County are in care the longest and most stays in all of the counties in New York State.
Wow.
Not just around here, in all of New York State. And I've gone, Craig and Sally know I do a lot of other advocacy. When I go down to Albany and I sit with somebody from OCFS or OPWDD and they tell me, well, why are you having all those problems? Those kids are only in care 15 to 22 months. And then I tell them, well, there's a kid in my house 11 years. There's a kid in my house for 9 years. There's a kid in my house for 7 years. And they say, what? That's the disconnect. And
Yeah.
and I wanted to mention one thing quick, and then you guys can close it out. Thank you, Craig, for coming to that listening thing for OPWDD. That is so telling. I wanted to mention one thing on there. The lady that was there that had the twins, Alexandra,
Yeah.
who couldn't get her kids out of the system. Most kids, a lot of parents are trying to put their kids in a residential placement. She's trying to get them out and was
Yeah,
running
she wanted
all
the
kinds
system
of
to
bureaucracy.
support them at home with her.
They're
Exactly.
going home Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
that's
going
awesome.
home Wednesday because I'm positive. I don't have confirmation, but I'm pretty positive that the commissioner sitting right in that room, Craig, when you were in there,
Yeah.
made something happen. And those
Yeah.
are the stories that she needs to hear. And I'm so glad you spoke up because they told me numerous times, and they're still telling me, that you 8 families that were in that room, those are the stories they want to hear to try and help fix this stuff. And thank you for coming to that. I think it was important that you were there. And because there's a crossover with OCFS, which is where we're in right now in foster care, into all the situations that we can't access in OPWDD because you can't double dip, is why a lot of those things kept coming up. And hopefully they look into that piece also. So
let's
Go ahead,
let's
Greg.
unpack that just for a second for the audience. They might not know what OCFS stands for, Office for Children and
Child
Family Services.
Services. Okay, thank you. I should know that, but
And we-
just so in
we
case
do-
anybody doesn't know.
We deal with both ends. We deal with OPWDD, which is Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. So if you have a kid that has developmental or intellectual disabilities and they're in foster care, they cannot utilize OPWDD services, anything from residential habilitation to community habilitation,
Can't even get on the very long waiting lists.
because it's considered double dipping, because their
How does
needs
that
are
make
being
sense? Like, I'm just
doesn't.
sorry.
And we've been
I should
fighting
interrupt,
that.
but it
No,
blows
that's
my
great.
mind. You have this vulnerable population with intense
So
needs, and we
we-
say when you're 21, we'll start to help you.
But they won't, because we're experiencing that right now. We've had our daughter Jocelyn we had her for 7 years before we got to adopt her. We ended up adopting her as an adult because finally that they couldn't stop it anymore, like basically because she was an adult and she wanted to be adopted. So they no longer had to try to terminate her mother's rights and stuff. But the issue that we had was before she was adopted, she had already been through the front door, which is a ridiculously long process to get your family member into OPWDD services. She was already approved, but they had to wait to approve any services that she could try until she was adopted. And since she's been adopted, we have been fighting to get, number one, she wants to move out on her own. So we want to put her in a safe residential facility where she has oversight and we can still have regular contact with her because she's part of our family. We love her.
Right.
She's like everyone. She's hit a crossroad where she wants to be on her more and more
She's
independent.
21. She wants to be more independent and move out of the house. So we want to make that happen for her. And had she been allowed to go on a waiting list 3 years ago when she was 18, there might be something for her to do now. But
Right.
now she's 21 and we're just getting her on these waiting lists.
Yeah.
And
That's the
trying
same
to
for people in other
explain to her.
facilities too, like nursing
Yeah.
homes. You
Yeah.
can't go to day hab when you live at a nursing home. You can't
Oh.
get on wait list to go
Because
somewhere else.
There's either services provided on site or the waiver. And if you get on that home community based waiver, then yeah, you can get consumer directed services or residential habilitation. We've been struggling to get Omarion and the other kids that we have that are nonverbal and are more dependent upon us. trying to get them respite. Omarion went on respite, what, 6 years ago?
Twice.
Had an incident where he scared someone and they just stopped. And then COVID hit, which made it even worse. Now he's available to go to, he has a place where he can go, but getting him in there, it's a weekend only house.
And they
'Cause
see
don't have
one thing
staff
on his
there.
record. Like, I know this one young man I worked with, they said he was an eloper. One time,
Yeah.
the van got in an accident, and he was so scared he ran out of the van. They said he elopes. He could never go in a van again. Like, you don't know what we had to do to say he's allowed to go in a van. That was a scary experience. He was nervous. They had been in a car wreck, but like, they put that one check mark on his list, and then he can't do the things that he should be allowed to do. And we've all made mistakes, like you said in the beginning of the show. I mean, we can't hold those things against kids forever. That shouldn't be what's in the way of accommodating them, because ADA law applies to everyone. It doesn't matter who you are or what your status is. It doesn't matter what age you are or color you are, what your IQ score is, or if your biological parents are involved. If you're an American with a disability, you are. So this is civil rights. I think if Willow, our new commissioner, can't address it, I think we take it to the next level. So you circle back. No,
Absolutely.
it's about human rights.
The most frustrating thing, and I know we're getting close to the end here, but the most frustrating thing is what we've been saying is we qualify. They'll say you'll have somebody from one of these agencies come to your home, and they have a case manager, which at one point was a service coordinator, and they go through and they're like, well, you qualify for this and this and this and this. Okay. So what can we do? Well, they don't have staff. Do you have somebody in your family that wants to do it? And it's like, no, we can't rely on family to do that because we are the people that are taking care of it. So when you tell me that my kid is it qualifies for a day program, why isn't there a bus coming and picking Jocelyn up every morning?
Right.
What's the holdup? She wants to go. We qualify. She has insurance. It's just incredibly frustrating.
And we've just taken in our 7th child with disabilities.
Yeah.
And
Yesterday.
yesterday. And we don't get any help with any of them once they get school. That is it.
Wow.
Any other services that they're eligible for, we fight and kick and scream, and we just keep being told there's nobody to do that.
And even when they're in school, you have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that they're getting services. So you go to these IEP meetings and they, the school where our boys go and we're convinced that our son Noah is going to speak. Like he's doing all the things that you would think he's going to do right before he'd learn how to speak. And then we're informed that they don't have a speech pathologist. So they can't do anything.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Children, Omarion School does not have a speech pathologist.
That's access. That's another federal level law. So,
Yeah, if our school, we found out through being a pain in the rear end that our school, when we took in our son Noah, we found out that if the district does not provide the services that your kid needs and they can't find a place that has openings, they have to create a program for that child. They do.
Wow.
But we didn't know that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Absolutely.
So I got on the phone with the state, and next thing you know, they're doing everything they can. But I mean, I know these school districts are bound by budgets and stuff, but these kids have no opportunity to get better. We have to advocate for them. And
that's a very powerful thing to share, because how many kids are sitting on the couch at home because the school says we don't have a program for them?
Yeah, how many kids are sitting on the couch at school?
Right. No, that's true.
Sitting and not doing anything.
No, so true. I want to thank both of you so much for what you're doing, but also taking the time to sit with us, because these stories
pleasure.
are the things that shape people. Like they hear it and they're like, okay, maybe I could do that. Or maybe this is how I could help. Or I didn't know that was, I mean, some of the things you just said, I didn't know those were issues. That's my wheelhouse. So now my brain is going, because that's what it will take to fix these kind of problems is families coming together. It's never going to be the people sitting in a boardroom or the people, in Congress with sitting at those tables. That those aren't the people who are actually going to solve it. It's us. We can work with them. We can present things to them, but we're the ones that move the mountains, and we have to. We have to, because look at all those kids you guys have helped, you and Steve and Jen. So thank you. My heart feels fuller knowing there's people like you, but my fighting part of me is ready to rock and roll with you. So if you need some help, Steve's wonderful. This is the kind of advocacy that matters, because it's not about one child, really. It's about systems that leave people behind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too for the work with the nursing homes and stuff. My mother was in a nursing home, and that's a population of people that don't have a voice too.
There's so many parallels, right? When we think about housing and communities, our veterans that are coming back from tours of duty, our aging population, people with disabilities, they all need some of the same things, but mostly they need to know that they're part of a community, that people see them and value them. And that's my focus right now at Autism Up. I'm the director of advocacy there. We're really looking at different ways to build communities that really are for everyone and have all those things that we need for the special accommodations, the technology, the things that help people be independent, like your daughter. She should have her own place. So we'll keep fighting, and maybe we'll check back with you guys later and see where you're at, because I'd love to hear more of your story another time.
Anytime. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Anytime.
All right.
Thanks,
thank
Steve.
you. Until next time.
Continue the conversation by joining our Facebook group. If you're a fan of the show, please join our supporters club. Subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your favorite listening app, but most of all, share it with your friends. Just one more click or comment can make a huge difference and help us to continue finding common ground.